Welcome to This Explainer. If you're gearing up to move house in Brisbane, you already know the vibe. It's exciting, but man, it can be overwhelming, right? Especially when we start talking about the financials. Well, today, we're taking the guesswork completely out of the equation. We're going to demystify the true cost of relocating in Brisbane, breaking down the hard data so you can budget perfectly.
So let's just dive right into it. It's the number one question probably causing you a bit of financial and logistical anxiety right now. How much is this Brisbane move actually going to cost you? You know, it's not just a single magic number. It's more like a dynamic puzzle, and the pieces depend entirely on your specific life circumstances.
To figure that out, our agenda today covers the baseline moving cost, the variables that change pricing, comparing Brisbane to other cities, watching out for those sneaky hidden fees, and finally some pro tips to save your hard-earned cash.
All right, Section 1, the baseline moving cost. Let's start the meter on your move.
And here's the big reveal, $300 to $3,500. Now, I know what you're thinking. That range is absolutely massive, right? Well, for local Brisbane moves, you're usually looking at an hourly rate. And honestly, most moving companies won't just roll out the truck for a quick 20-minute job. They generally enforce a 2 to 3 hour minimum charge just to get things started. So yep, even a tiny studio apartment has a clear baseline starting point.
It's actually kind of fascinating to see how these costs scale up in the real world. Look at this breakdown. Moving a massive 4-bedroom house, that's going to take a 5-person crew about 7 to 9 hours, pushing your bill up to around $2,500. But compare that to a quick 1-bedroom move taking maybe 3 hours with just 2 movers. That keeps your cost closer to that $300 to $600 mark. Basically, the size of your home dictates the volume of your stuff, which dictates the truck size, the manpower, and ultimately the time on the clock.
Moving right along to Section 2, variables that change pricing. Let's look at why that price tag climbs. So, a standard quote generally assumes you have standard items. But say you want a grand piano, or maybe a heavy slate pool table? Well, prepare yourself because your movers are going to need extra specialized equipment and a whole lot more muscle. Because let's face it, absolutely nobody wants to be the guy dropping a 500-pound instrument on their foot. And it's not just the heavy stuff. Fragile collections like artwork or delicate electronics might require professional packing so they don't get wrecked. Oh, and if you have a massive bed frame that needs to be completely disassembled and then reassembled at the new place, that is going to add some serious time to the hourly meter.
And we can't forget about distance. Distance changes the math entirely. Local moves within the Brisbane metro area are pretty much strictly hourly, just because travel times are fairly short. But if you're moving interstate, say jumping from Brisbane down to Sydney, that is a totally different ballgame. You aren't paying an hourly rate anymore. Instead, you're priced based on the total volume of your goods, the specific route the truck has to take, and potentially some hefty fuel levies. It's a much, much larger logistical undertaking.
Okay, Section 3, comparing Brisbane to others. Let's get a look at the national context.
So, Brisbane sits pretty comfortably between $130 and $180 an hour for 2 movers and a truck. Now, contrast that with Sydney. While Sydney's starting hourly rate might actually look kind of similar, the final cost for a 3-bedroom home down there can easily blow right past $1,500. Melbourne and Perth, as you can see, have their own unique ranges too. So the obvious question here is, why exactly do we see these variations across the country?
Well, the crucial point to remember is that your price tag isn't just arbitrary. The reason a Brisbane move might cost less than a Sydney move really comes down to these specific local factors. Things like the local cost of living, which obviously affects state wages for the moving crews. Then you've got operating costs, rent, fuel, and insurance for the removalist companies. And seriously, do not forget logistics. Dense city parking and brutal traffic congestion in a central business district, or CBD, add massive amounts of time to a job, and time, as we know, directly inflates an hourly rate.
Which brings us to Section 4, watch out for hidden fees, or as I like to call them, the budget breakers.
Look, we all know hauling a heavy couch up 3 flights of stairs is an absolute nightmare, right? Well, guess what? Your movers know it too. That is exactly why difficult access is a massive budget breaker. If a company has to navigate multiple flights of stairs without an elevator, you're almost definitely going to see a stair fee pop up on your bill. Or if you live on a super narrow street and the truck has to park, say, 50 meters away from your front door, boom, that triggers a long carry fee because of the extra physical toll and time. And hey, if you wait until the last second to book, expect a premium charge for that short notice.
And please, whatever you do, don't forget the physical materials and the safety nets. Even if you're packing everything yourself, you still have to buy boxes,
packing tape, bubble wrap, and that alone can easily cost well over $100. If you want the pros to pack for you, that's an hourly add-on. Then there's insurance. Most movers have basic liability, sure, but comprehensive moving insurance for your high-value items is going to cause extra. Finally, if there's any gap at all between your old lease ending and your new one starting, you've got to factor in temporary storage fees right from the get-go.
All right, Section 5, Pro Tips to Save Money. Let's talk about taking back control of your budget.
Here is the absolute easiest, most immediate financial win you can get. Book your move on a weekday. I'm serious. Moving on a weekend or a public holiday means you are competing with literally everyone else who works a standard 9 to 5. And that peak demand, it drives prices through the roof. By simply booking your move between Monday and Thursday, you dodge those peak weekend rates completely, which translates to massive instant savings on your final bill.
Let's look at a few more strategies to really trim the fat off your quote. The cheapest option, for sure, is always to pack yourself. But before you even buy a single box, you need to brutally declutter. Sell or donate the stuff you don't use anymore so you aren't paying a premium hourly rate just to transport junk. Next, always compare quotes from several different removalists to make sure you're getting a fair market rate. And finally, if you're just moving out of a small studio apartment, you don't need a massive truck and a 4-man crew. Just downsize your service to a simple man with a van. It's going to give you the best value for your specific needs.
So, we've covered the baseline numbers, exposed the hidden fees, and armed you with strategies to take back control. You know the metrics and you know the hidden traps. So here's the question. Will you view your moving budget as a stressful burden or as a smart, calculated investment in your next chapter? By understanding these costs, you're no longer at the mercy of a blind quote. The choice and the savings are now entirely in your hands.